What's something that's really near and dear to Americans, aside from guns? Well, that would be freedom of speech. It's one of the long entrenched rights given by the Constitution that people have the right to freedom of speech. Well, there's this little organization called the National Labor Relations Board, which currently is dominated by the Republican Party, and they feel that things have gone to a point where workers really shouldn't have the right to picket outside their workplace. That's right, if you go on strike, and you know how that very iconic image that it goes back over 100 years of workers standing outside the place that they're striking with signs, walking around, picketing, etc. That has just been given the precedent necessary to ban it. That's right. One of those freed fundamental rights, there's now a legal basis for getting rid of it. The National Labor Relations Board recently ruled that janitors striking in San Francisco violated the law when they picketed outside the workplace to win higher wages, better working conditions, and freedom from sexual harassment in the workplace. That's right, that picketing has now been ruled illegal. The NLRB based its decision on a particularly onerous provision in the federal labor law that prohibits employees from engaging in boycotts, pickets, or other activities that are aimed at a secondary employer. The provision was added as a part of the 1947 Taft-Hartley Act, taking away one of labor's most powerful weapons. In this case, the NLRB overturned an administrative law judge's ruling that because the second company had significant control over the employment relationship, it constituted a joint employer. The judge based her conclusion on the evidence that the preferred building services that was involved in hiring, firing, disciplining, supervision, direction of work, and other terms of conditions of the janitor's employment with Ortiz Janitorial Services. Therefore, both Ortiz and Preferred acted as joint employers to the janitors. So that means a subcontracted service, which, you have a company and you have a service, a cleaning, and you give it to a cleaning company. If the primary company which hired the cleaning company has the ability to hand down punishments, wages, or particular having a great deal of control over the employees from the cleaning company, then it's considered a joint employment. So they've just used a kind of a greasy backdoor kind of move to make it illegal to picket. That if you weren't an employee of it, but you were a subcontractor thing, you couldn't strike against, for the various reasons that people go on strike. So where does that leave you? Well, it means that in this world of increasingly subcontracted work and, outsourced work, etc., you've lost a primary tool in being able to strike against your unfair conditions. Your freedom of speech to stand up and oppose what is being done to the working class in the United States has now been censored to a large degree. Now, this has not been enacted on a large scale, but this is the legal groundwork needed to do just that. Now, you can make the argument, well, this might not necessarily go right out into the mainstream and begin to use workers, to be censored workers on a large scale, but I feel pretty confident in saying that it probably will sometime in the future, and probably not very far away. In fact, I would not be surprised if this kind of ruling showed up in, say, the next Walmart strike or something like that. So be very, very careful. There's a lot of bad things coming down the pipe for workers in the first world, and in this case, specifically the United States. Very quickly, the workers of the United States could find themselves in a very untenuous position, which would largely end up undermining most of the working class.